I've made a load of videos here on the channel with iPhone tips and tricks, and each time I think I'm done with them, I do some digging and I find a load more things I didn't know about or that I think most people won't have been aware of. That's what this video is, 10 tips and tricks for the iPhone that I think most people won't know about. Okay, let's get into it. You already know that you can send an audio message to someone using the iMessage app. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. You can either tap on the plus button in the lower left of the screen and choose audio, then begin speaking into your phone. Or for some contacts, there is an audio icon in the message window itself, and you can tap on that to begin recording. However, there is an easier way of doing this, and it's right under your nose. Simply lift the phone to your ear as if you were having a traditional phone conversation. You'll hear your phone ping to let you know that it's ready for you to record. Simply speak and move the phone away from your ear when you're done. The recording will be visible in your message thread and ready to send. Taking the previous tip further, you can send yourself audio messages. To do this, open the Messages app. Above all your existing chats, you'll see your contact card at the very top of the screen. Tap on it. While it might sound odd, anything that you send here will be sent to yourself. You could use the method from the previous tip to send yourself an audio message. This could be particularly useful if you're out and about and you want to quickly capture an idea. You might wonder why you would do this instead of transcribing text into notes, for example, or even capturing a voice memo using the Voice Memos app. To illustrate why this is useful, I've sent myself an audio message. If you're using a phone running iOS 17 and speaking in a compatible language, your phone will automatically transcribe the message that you just sent. You can tap the Keep button to retain this in your messaging app. There are a couple of ways to access this information later. One approach is immediately sending yourself a follow-up message with a tag or keyword that you could search for later. This allows you to use the search function in your Messages app to quickly find the transcription. Annoyingly, you can't directly copy the text from this transcription into another app. However, if the text isn't too long, you could take a screenshot and then use text recognition to copy and paste it into a note, for example. It is a bit of a workaround, but it does work, and it offers an interesting way of quickly jotting down your ideas. In the Messages app, if you tap the plus button in the lower left corner of the screen and then tap on stickers, you can drag stickers anywhere into a message, dropping them as a kind of reaction. You can choose from the entire emoji menu, select stickers from app designers, and even create your own. I've shown this in a previous video, and you typically do this by grabbing the subject of a photo and turning it into a sticker. However, there is a much more exciting way of doing this, and that's to use live photos. To do this, in the sticker menu, tap the Custom Sticker button and then the plus button. At the top of the screen, you'll see a button called All Types. To the right of that, you have several categories to choose from, including an option called Live. Tap into this and you can see all of your live photos. Tap to select one, and not only will your phone turn the live photo into a sticker, but it will also identify the subject from the photo. To create it, press the Add Sticker button at the bottom right of the screen. You can even tap on the Add Effect button that appears to make visual changes, although do note that if you do this, you will lose the live element of the sticker. And that's it. You now have a mini GIF sticker that you can drop into chats. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF version of this video complete with screenshots, and you can access it along with all other PDFs I've created, plus future ones, for just $5 a month. You can either scan the QR code that you can see on screen or follow the link in the description of this video to learn more. As I'm sure you already know, the torch on your iPhone, or flashlight if you're in a part of the world where that's what you call it, can be switched on in several ways. You can tap and hold the button on your phone's lock screen to enable and disable it from there, use Siri to have it enabled or disabled by voice, or access the control center and enable or disable it from there. And if you long press the torch button in the control center, you can choose from 4 brightness settings, from quite dim to really quite bright. So lots of tips that you probably already know, but here's one that you might not. When you change the brightness setting of the torch, simply switch the torch off using any of the methods that we've already discussed. Your phone will remember that brightness setting the next time that you switch it on. Most people tend to think that if you want to switch it on at level 2 brightness, for example, you have to go to Control Center and long press every time, but you don't. You can simply do it once and then let your phone remember the setting for you each and every time. We've already talked in this video about sending voice messages using iMessage, either to other people or to yourself to capture ideas. However, there is a tip related to receiving voice messages from other people. If you tap the play button, the voice message will begin playing. But if you long press the play button, you have 4 speed options, including 1.25 speed, 1.5 speed, and 2 times speed. So if you've got a friend who likes to send exceptionally long voice messages and you'd like them to get to the point a bit quicker, this tip is good for you. The share sheet on your iPhone is really useful. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's when you go into an app like Safari, for example, and tap on the share button in the bottom middle of the screen. A sheet appears with different options for sharing this with people. By default, yours is probably set up the way that mine is on screen now, with a row of other apps that you can choose from to share with and a row of suggestions above that. This contains people and methods that you used to share recently. So on my screen, for example, you can see that there are 2 recent sharing options, both for Tom PHT, one via AirDrop and one via iMessage. The idea here is that all I have to do is tap the button and whatever it is that I'm sharing will immediately be sent without me having to do anything else. The phone that I'm using here is a demo phone that I use for these videos, so if I were to accidentally press that button, it would only go to one of my other phones and it wouldn't be a problem. But on my daily driver phone, I have loads of different family and friends here, including some group chats, and I can imagine that if I were to accidentally tap on the wrong icon here, it would be quite easy to send something by accident, which could obviously be quite embarrassing. If you want to disable this feature, it's really easy to do. Open the Settings app, scroll down and choose Siri and Search. Scroll to the Suggestions from Apple section and disable Show when sharing. You'll notice that when you do this and then return to a share sheet, the suggestions have disappeared, and instead you would have to go through the process of selecting an individual app and then selecting the person or group that you would like to share with. This isn't as quick as using the sharing suggestions, but it reduces the risk of making an embarrassing mistake, so it's up to you whether you find value in this. Podcasts are great, and if you listen to them primarily for entertainment, you might not care about this particular tip. However, if you listen to them to extract valuable information, you should definitely try this. The biggest problem with podcasts is their duration. Most people don't have time to listen to multiple 1 or 2 hour podcasts a week and still get everything done that they need to. This method can help you get everything that you need from a podcast without having to invest all of that time in actually listening to them. First, open the podcast app on your iPhone and locate the episode that you'd like to summarize. A new feature that came with the latest version of iOS is the ability to have your phone automatically transcribe podcast episodes. This is automatically happening in the background when you listen to a podcast. Simply press play on the podcast, ensure you've got it in full screen mode, and tap the lyrics button in the bottom left of the screen. This will show you the transcription of the podcast as it plays. You can then tap the ellipsis button in the upper right of the screen and choose View Transcript. This will show you the entire transcript of the episode in text format, and you can use the magnifying glass in the upper right of the screen to search through it if you wish. As of this moment, your iPhone doesn't have a native method of summarizing this transcript for you, though I think that this is a feature that could come in iOS 18. But for now, we can get around this by using a free account on ChatGPT or any artificial intelligence chatbot that you choose. So in this example, I'm going to come out of the podcast app and open the ChatGPT app. I have a paid account, but this will also work perfectly fine on a free account, so feel free to sign up for a free membership. In the chat window, we need to write a prompt for ChatGPT. You can play with this and create any prompt that you like, but I would say something like the following. I'm going to provide you with the transcript for a podcast episode. I would like you to summarize it for me, breaking it down into main podcast sections, and then providing the most important parts of the conversation using bullet points. I'd also like you to provide quotes from the transcript for each of those bullet points with any quotes that you think would be most relevant. Let me know that you understand and that you're ready for the transcript. You'll notice that when you do this, ChatGPT will respond to you, letting you know that it understands what you want to do and asking you to provide the transcript. Leave ChatGPT open and go back to the podcast app where you should still have your transcript showing. Usually on any other parts of the iPhone, you would tap and choose Select All and then Copy, but this doesn't work in the podcast transcript. I wonder if this is a copyright issue that Apple is trying to avoid here, or whether it's just an oversight, but there is an easy way to get past this. Start at the bottom, tap and hold on the screen for a moment until a word of the text is selected. Then use the drag bar to drag the selection to the top of the screen. This will happen slowly at first, but if you keep your finger at the top of the screen, it will move very quickly. Do this until you've gotten to the top of the screen and selected all of the text. You'll notice that your iPhone gives you a copy option. Don't press this. For some reason, it doesn't copy all of the text, only a tiny amount of it. So again, we have to use a workaround here. Tap and hold for just a moment on the selected text until you see it pop out of the screen. Move the text slightly to lift it from the screen, and then with your other hand, close the podcast app down and open ChatGPT. You can then drop the text straight into ChatGPT's message field. Press the send button and your chatbot will get to work summarizing the podcast for you. If dropping directly into ChatGPT doesn't quite work for you, create a note in the Notes app and drop the text into there instead. The text is in the Notes app. You can quickly press to select all and copy, and then paste it into the app of your choice. This is really useful because there are apps out there that currently charge a lot of money to do this for you in a dedicated podcast transcription app. As you can see here, you don't need to pay for those apps. You can do all of this yourself in just a couple of steps. By the way, if you're enjoying the content here, why not consider signing up to my free newsletter, The Proper Weekly, which you can do via the link in the description of this video or by scanning the QR code on screen now. The newsletter goes out each Friday and I include some tech news from the week, content that I've been enjoying that week, as well as a tip for an item in the Apple ecosystem. If you use Apple Music, they recently added a feature that allows you to favorite a song. To do this while a song is playing, simply tap the star button to add it to your favorites. You have a couple of options for using this. From your main Apple Music library, you can tap on playlists and scroll down until you see your favorite songs playlist. This is exactly what it sounds like. All of your favorite songs will show up here. Alternatively, from either the home screen or the spotlight search screen, if you long press the Apple Music app icon, you can see an option here, Play Favorite Songs. Tap on this to begin playing your favorite songs playlist. Or you can access Siri and ask it to play your favorite songs, and this is particularly useful when you're out driving in the car or anywhere else where you need to do this hands-free. You can also add albums to your favorites. There isn't a star icon when viewing an album. Instead, you would press the ellipsis button in the upper right corner of the screen and choose Favorite. You might also notice that when you return to your library and tap into Playlists, there isn't a Favorite Albums playlist. To access your favorite albums, you'll need to go to the library, choose Albums, and tap the filter button in the upper right corner of the screen. Change this from All Albums to Favorite. Only your favorite albums will be here. This also works for playlists, so if you create a lot of playlists and you'd like a way of easily narrowing them down to your favorites, follow the exact same steps as for creating a favorite album list. I'm sure you know how to capture a screenshot on your iPhone. You likely know that when a screenshot appears in the bottom left corner of the screen, you can edit it right away if you tap on it. But did you know that if you tap and hold on the preview in the bottom left corner for a second, you can access all the usual options, such as sharing your screenshot or copying it to your clipboard without saving it to your photo library first? In fact, if you're quick when capturing your screenshots, capturing a process and managing to take them quickly, your phone automatically creates a stack of screenshots in the bottom left. You can still tap and hold onto this stack to access all the usual controls, again, without the need to save the screenshots to your photo library first. However, you do need to be quick for this to work. You have as long as it takes for the preview to disappear, which is only a few seconds. But if you're capturing a quick process, this might be all the time that you need. Oh, and just like any other stack in iOS, you can drag and drop. So for example, after capturing a few screenshots in quick succession, I'll tap and hold onto the stack for just a moment, and then I can drag the stack of screenshots into files, mail, messages, notes, or whatever I prefer. This tip is more somber than the other tips that I've included in these videos, but iPhone owners must know about this. If you have money or assets that you want to leave to somebody when you pass away, you create a will. But increasingly, we're creating libraries of digital assets, specifically things like photos and video collections. Unless we set up a process of passing that data on to somebody else in the event of our death, the data may either be lost or even deleted. I know, for example, that if I were to pass away, I would want my wife to access my entire photo library. Apple makes it easy for you to do this using a legacy contact system, and I recommend you take a few moments to set this up. On your iPhone, go to Settings and tap on your Apple ID at the top of the screen. Tap into Sign In and Security and scroll down until you see Legacy Contact. Tap into this, tap on the Legacy Contact button and add a contact. This should be someone that you know and trust, and ideally someone that you've had a conversation with about beforehand. So in my example, I've added my wife and my wife has added me on her phone. The legacy contact will receive a message that they have to accept and confirm. If either of us were to pass away, the other one would be able to provide Apple with the necessary information to verify this. Apple would then hand over all of the data covered by the legacy contact program. Once you've added a legacy contact, you can also use the same page to manage that contact. So if you need to remove access later, for example, you can do that. Also, on a similar note, if we jump back to the sign in and security page, you can see an option called account recovery. Again, I've got my wife set up as the contact here, but this is in case I'm ever in a situation where I'm unable to access my iCloud account. My wife can use her iPhone to access a recovery key that I can then use to access my account, and vice versa. These aren't the most exciting tips, but they're certainly the kind of thing that you'll be glad you set up if and when you need them. So there you go, 10 tips and tricks for the iPhone that I think most people won't have been aware of. What do you think? Anything here that caught you by surprise? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.